They've decided that the economy has to be more market-driven. That is necessary for it to achieve the objective of becoming a fully advanced economy, because all the advanced economies are basically market-driven. So instead of having so much command and control, you move to more market-oriented instruments of policymaking. So the whole thing goes together. Now, this is actually a very complicated transition to make. It's one that China's been in for a long time, but the next stage will certainly be very complicated and difficult, among the most complicated, because essentially two things are going on at the same time. The structure of the economy is changing profoundly towards services, away from industry, towards consumption, away from investment. So the economic structure is changing. And at the same time, the way of regulating and controlling the economy is moving from, as it were, top-down command and control, credit rationing, all that, to more market-oriented instruments. This is a very profound transformation. Nobody's ever tried to do this before in a country, obviously, of this scale, which was so recently a relatively undeveloped country. So we are all very interested to see what's going to happen. And the next 10 years are going to be, I think, a really fascinating story. I think the record of Chinese reform in the last 35 years, in the broad, has obviously been very remarkable. This is an incredibly successful episode in human economic and political history. They've managed to do this with a pretty high level of economic stability. They've managed to keep the economy going and making the reforms that were necessary at each stage. They tend to do it on a trial and error basis, so they don't do everything everywhere. They try it out in a part of the country, see what happens, learn from it. I think that's very sensible. I think particularly if you're running a country, as you said, of this scale, with immense complexity, trying to do everything at once risks chaos. Obviously it does. And it's good that it should now accelerate. But I agree very, very strongly. It would be very irresponsible to try and change everything at once. In a country of this scale and complexity, it obviously makes sense to decide what are the really important bottlenecks now, what are the really important things, and how are we going to fix those. And it seems to me selectivity and trial and error are the right way to do reform in China.